Welcome to another OU Insider Under the Visor podcast. I almost said YouTube Live. Under the Visor Sooners podcast, powered by Riverwind Casino. Parker Thune. My name is Brandon Drum. Fall camp is deep. We're in the throes of it, Parker. There was a first scrimmage of the 2025 version of fall camp that happened earlier today as we record this. We are going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a lot of different things on here. But man, it's getting close. What are we, 2.5 weeks out now? 3 weeks ish?
3 weeks to the day out from game
3
number
weeks
one.
to the day. Yeah. So it's getting closer and closer to Illinois State, and we're getting more and more excited about it. So, yeah, we're going to talk about all that for you guys right here. A lot of really good stuff from the scrimmage that we'll talk about. We're not going to dive into everything that we were told because that's for our members over at OU Insider. But, yeah, we're going to dive into a lot of it right here for you guys. So stick around. But first, we're going to thank our sponsors.
And that begins with Riverwind Casino, our presenting sponsor and OKC's premier gaming destination for nearly 3 decades now, I should say. Almost 3,000 electronic games, table games, bars, and dining options, plus the best live music in the metro. It's no surprise that Riverwind is always a good time. This pod also brought to you in part by Janiking, the greatest team to ever clean and a proud partner of OU Athletics, delivering spotless results and solutions from stadiums to any size business across the country. Check out which of their solutions is right for you or your business by going to janiking.com. That's JANIKING.com.
All right, where do we want to start, Mr. Thune? Where do you think is the best place to start for us as far as, is it O-line, D-line, defense? What do we want to start positive? Let's start positive. So let's start with the defensive line. How about that? You want to go
They're
there?
going to be a baller group, man.
Yeah.
That's going to be a baller group. So far, all of the things we thought we knew about this D line, all of the stuff that has been said, not just locally, but nationally, about the defensive line unit that Oklahoma is going to field, it seems pretty on the money, doesn't it?
It most certainly does. Everything, look, I heard so much buzz about David Stone today. I heard a bunch of buzz about Danny Okoye. There were a few other guys that we heard buzz about, but those were a few names that were thrown out. This group is still missing Grayson Halton, man. And, we haven't talked about that. The fact that a guy that a lot of people believe had a chance to be all SEC or has a chance to be all SEC still hasn't really done much this fall camp because of a hamstring. I mean, and they're still that deep at defensive tackle, Parker. You've missed Marcus Strong here or there throughout fall camp as well. Again, the two things that we've heard, and I guess we can say this because it's pretty public knowledge. The two things that we've heard most, as far as like the dings, right? As far as the dinged up, this fall camp across the board has been protocol, and it doesn't mean they were concussions, by the way. Let me throw that out there to everybody. It just means that they're being very cautious about everything this fall camp. So if you nicked, you got a hangnail, they're going to probably sit you out of practice or two. And the same thing goes for like a tight hamstring. They're not going to let you practice. Deion Burks, tight back, not letting him practice. Those type of things, Parker, that it's been very, very cautious. But to the defensive line, they're still so deep, even though they're missing guys. Is that, and I've asked this before, but does this not just like solidify just everything as far as like just the depth? Yeah, it's solid. We've heard how great they are, and that solidifies everybody with how good they are, but we knew that. I think the depth piece, I think, is more intriguing to me than anything else.
Oklahoma seems to be deep everywhere, Brandon. That's what it feels
Fair.
like.
That's fair.
And I think that's part of the reason why, in my mind, we've talked a lot about how none of the injuries to this point throughout fall camp seem to be substantial, but that's also part of the reason I'm not really worried about unavailability from XYZ player, right? Like to me, as I look at it, the guys that Oklahoma is missing at this point, won't be missing for long, but is missing right now due to injury. Those guys, yeah, you'd love to have them in the lineup. You'd love to have them healthy. You'd love to have them out there practicing. But in their absence, it's creating more reps for talented players that are already pretty solid, that with those added reps can play themselves into an even greater share of the snap count come the season and even more confidence from the coaching staff as well. Cornerback is a great example of this. Eli Bowen's been on the shelf for the entirety of fall camp to date. Not the greatest development. You would rather have Eli Bowen healthy. However, with Eli Bowen laid up with that injury, Brandon, what have we heard? Davon Jordan looks fantastic. Jeremiah Newcomb looks fantastic. Cortland Guillory's a star in the making. Uh, it's interesting when you talk to anybody within the program, Brandon. You talk to three different people, you might get three different answers with regard to who would start opposite Gentry Williams and cornerback at week 1 if Eli Bowen can't go. Because that's how tight the race is right now, and that's how well guys like Jacoby Johnson and Davon Jordan and Cortland Guillory are playing. There's no clear consensus right now as to who that guy would be because there are multiple guys that have stepped up in a major way to this point in fall camp and asserted themselves as worthy of
Yeah.
a large share of the snap count, of a substantial role in that defensive backfield. That's a good place to be.
It, it's kind of wild because, the Kendall Dolby aspect still hasn't really been talked about, right? Because he's also going to be in play at corner and when he comes back and
Yeah.
I don't I think people need to get ready for Oklahoma not to even risk Dolby and not to risk Eli Bowen come week 1. I think that needs to be in every Sooner fan's mind at this point because it just doesn't seem like that would be a feasible idea or even smart to do. Um, the other thing is how do they want to attack this? Because the Cortland Guillory train just keeps speeding up more and more and more. And you still have Jacoby Johnson, who, you know, we've talked about him, but we haven't really talked a ton about him this fall camp. Don't get me wrong, he's had a really phenomenal fall camp from every aspect and everybody that we've talked to. But Cortland Guillory, I think, and people are going to say, well, it's a new shiny toy. It's a freshman that everybody talks about every year, Parker. That's not it with him. That
No.
is so far from it with him.
I would go as far as to say I think the last time reviews were this strong on a true freshman defender was back in August of 21 when we were hearing, hey, this Danny Stutzman kid that showed up in June, he's a stud.
Yeah. Before he hurt his elbow, he was playing a ton for OU as a freshman as well. Yeah. Was Billy Bowman, did he flash like that or were they arguing over what side of the ball he was still going to be at that point?
Well, the thing was, yes, he started. I think he may have been the only true freshman to start game 1 that year for Oklahoma. So he did start from the jump, but
Right.
it was a question of where he was going to settle in. He wasn't really afforded the opportunity to settle in over the course of that campaign, if you'll recall. He was playing some safety, he was playing some outside corner, he was playing a lot of nickel. And that was one of the major criticisms of Alex Grinch at the end of the campaign was, hey, you and this defensive staff, man, they just y'all haven't given Billy Bowman a chance to dial in and get good at one thing. And then what happened? Brent Venables and Brandon Hall get to town. Billy Bowman, you're a strong safety. And that's what he
Yeah.
was for the next 3 years at Oklahoma, and he was a dang good one.
Yeah. The Eli Bowen, I think, is Do you think with if Jacoby Johnson? I just want to touch on this real quick. If Jacoby Johnson and or Guillory or Jeremiah Newcomb, or how about all three, ball the hell out weeks 1 and 2, does he automatically come back in the rotation?
Eli Bowen?
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
I mean, no, no,
Yeah,
no.
there's no doubt.
Would you start him automatically?
Yes. Yes, I
Okay.
still would.
Okay. I mean, do you understand why I'm asking that question? Like, if you feel comfortable with where things are at, do you shake up the starting lineup if things are going well?
Well, I mean, you're not shaking up the starting lineup at that point, I don't think. You're just returning to the status quo. And that's kind of always been what the plan for 2025 was Gentry Williams and Eli Bowen are your
For
starters,
sure. I
and
get
everybody
that.
else is filling in off the bench. Also, I just think if you're talking sample size, right? Like we had 2/3 of a season last year to see what kind of ball Eli Bowen could play in a featured role, in a starting role. I
Yeah.
don't know that 2 games of anybody is going to change my mind on them starting over Eli Bowen.
I I'm with you. I agree. I'm just asking because the only reason why I even asked this is that I watched Dynasty for like the third time on Apple about the Patriots dynasty and the Tom Brady, obviously Drew Bledsoe situation. And injuries, you're not supposed to lose your job because of injuries, but it happens so often that we kind of overlook it. And with as talented as this group is, I just I always question whether that's how coaches are going to think moving forward because we've seen it before where players come back and they don't just become automatic starters back in it. No matter how good they are, they've had to work their so. I mean, a prime example of this was 2023 Parker, Jacob Sexton, Tyler Guyton. Tyler Guyton was a first round pick.
Mm-hmm.
They could have brought him back at any point. As a matter of fact, they might have won Bedlam if they played Sexton on one end and Guyton on the other at tackle. Like maybe they had a better chance of playing and winning, right? Just maybe the offensive line is better. I'm just saying, but they chose not to play Guyton because Sexton was playing so well at left tackle and to let him save himself for the NFL moving forward.
Sexton was playing right tackle.
Okay, right tackle, left tackle. Point stands is that they didn't bring him back in. He filled in for Guyton at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So right tackle. You knew what I meant. I said left. I meant
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
but
Yeah,
you
because
know
I
what
was
I
I was
meant.
gonna say Walter Rouse would I'm
Walter
pretty sure he
Rouse
played
was a
every
left
single
tackle. I
start
don't
that
know
year.
why I said I don't know why I said left. I probably because Sexton's playing left right now, so that's why I said it. But they didn't bring him back in, and so I always and you're talking about an all conference guy, a first round draft pick, and like yeah, you don't need to play. Like we're good, we're good. You see what I'm saying though?
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know. I I obviously agree that Eli Bowen's going to come back and he's going to play and he's going to be a superstar. I just always find it interesting how well this group is rounding out and how deep it is that they're going to piss off somebody at some point during the season with the rotations. It's going to happen.
Sorry, was that the end of the point?
You're going to play him probably 20, 30 snaps. But with his injuries, like you want to save him. And I'm talking about throughout the season, Parker, like through the start of the season. You're going to want him later on to play more snaps against the LSUs of the world, and him for him to be available. So how do you do that? Do you think they feel comfortable enough only playing him a minimal amount of snaps to start the year in a rotation type of deal to make sure your best corners are available later on?
I would think that's the way you go. Yes. I would
Yeah.
think you ease him back in, especially with the knowledge that, and I'll say this, I remember talking about this on a podcast at the end of July, I believe, right before fall camp started. Just the reality that the belief within the building in that cornerback room seemed to be a lot higher than the belief externally. And from everything we've heard through a week and a half, the folks in that front office and on that staff, they were right about this cornerback room. So,
Yeah.
yeah, again, I think just because of the depth you have there and the diversity of skills that those guys bring to the table, I think you can certainly afford to ease Eli Bowen back in. Whatever that looks like, he doesn't need to play every single snap against Michigan. He doesn't need to play every single snap against Auburn. In the meantime, however long you're easing him back in, man, it's a great opportunity to get a sense of what you got and who you can trust in that corner room. And maybe you can trust everybody. I think that would be the
Mhm.
ideal outcome. If you can trust everybody, man, you got a lot of options at your disposal going into SEC play. But that may, if we don't have a real sense at that point of who is the superior option between Jeremiah Newcomb and Davon Jordan and Jacoby Johnson and Cortland Guillory, well, maybe those first 2, 3, 4 weeks of the season tell us what we need to know in that regard.
I agree. We talked about how this scrimmage was going to tell us more about this team, right? More about maybe there were some concerns that were going to rear its head. And without fail, there were some concerns during the scrimmage. Um, and it's not because of a lack of the starters being really good. It's not a lack of your backups being really good. It's a fact that your backups, your starters are dinged up, Parker, at the tackle spots. So, um, but the good news, and maybe you can verbalize this better than I can and ease the concerns of the OU fans. Good news, it's not near as bad as it was last year as far as, for one, the injuries. Two of the injuries are going to be back sometime in the next week. Um, and probably three, to be honest, all three. But the offense still made its mark and made its waves against one of the best defenses in college football today, even with them being down. Would you call that a concern or a concern and a positive all at the same time?
Listen, I think on a broad scale, it's encouraging that throughout fall camp we've heard, hey, there's some healthy give and take, which is exactly what we heard in the spring and what we
Yeah.
saw in the spring. The offense gets the better of the defense at times. The defense gets the better of the offense at times. Because last fall, Brandon, it was darn
Oh,
near every day. Well, defense steamrolled the offense again. Boy, it's kind of hard to tell whether this offense is really bad or this defense is really good. Turns out it was a little bit of both, right? But that is maybe the most refreshing dynamic that's emerged over the first week and a half of camp is that it doesn't feel like one unit is clearly superior to the other, which I
yeah.
think speaks volumes for Oklahoma's offense, Brandon, especially an offense that doesn't have Giovanni Gibson right now and that has been without Jaden Ott for the last few days as he recovers from that shoulder injury that he sustained.
Mm-hmm.
We know what Oklahoma is defensively. We know what that unit's going to look like. We know the expectations, and look, there are expectations that that defense is more than capable of living up to. They should be a top 20 unit in the country. They'll have a chance to be top 10. Would it surprise anybody if they were top 5 at this point? No, it's going to be one of the country's premier defensive units. And if that Oklahoma offense, even with the stability issues on the offensive line that they've been dealing with because of injuries and even down some of their top skill position guys as they recover right now, if that offense is continually giving the defense problems, I think that says great things about where that unit is going to be by the time Michigan rolls into town September 6th.
I just read and be positive. I appreciate you being a member. Number one, I just read, so I put up a bunch of notes. Park, like he had him up there. That scrimmage ended, and within like an hour, Parker had notes up. Like it was bam. Like I looked at it, like I looked down my phone. He's like, I got notes up. I'm literally getting text messages from people at that point in time. But I was at a scrimmage all day with my kid, round robin. So I wasn't able to really make phone calls until like 2 or 3 o'clock. I was just having to text up to that point. But um, be positive. He's a new member with us, so thank you for signing up. I really, really appreciate you if you're watching. He said, this offense got me nervous. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And I think it comes from the fact that the defense did things today and that the offensive line had its issues at times with the defensive front. But again, like you said, there's been give and take, Parker. There's been give and take. I think you guys need to realize that this is so far from where it was last year. It's not even funny. The offense scored quite a bit today, Parker.
Mm-hmm.
Quite a bit. So I mean, it's not bad. It's both. It's good and bad because you would love the offense to score every time, but you also know that the defense has to be good to win a national title. And OU has one of the better defenses in the country. As everything that you've heard over the last week, 10 days, and it's literally been 10 days since fall camp started today.
Mm-hmm.
What has been the most surprising aspect of fall camp for Oklahoma? Maybe it's a player standing out. Maybe it's the way things have been handled. Maybe it's something that you've heard that kind of took you aback. What
Well,
has there been a surprise?
honestly, Brandon, like I don't, I hate to beat a dead horse here because it feels like we've talked about this extensively over the course of the pod, but I genuinely think it is how deep and how strong that cornerback room seems to be because I cannot
Yeah.
tell you how many years in a row I've gone into fall camp asking questions about cornerback
Yeah.
and wondering whether that unit is going to be able to hold up, whether it was back in the Big 12 days or in more modern times in the SEC days. I don't know that I've ever felt genuinely confident in Oklahoma's cornerback group heading into a season during the entirety of the time that I've covered the program. And I wouldn't say I'm there yet, but boy, I'm getting there in a hurry, especially
2020 and
because
2021, right?
what?
Woody Washington and Trey Brown, or 2020, Trey Norwood, excuse me. Trey Norwood and Woody
Yeah,
Washington, maybe?
but and Trey Norwood had a good year in 2020. But going into 2020, you have to consider the version of Trey Norwood that we saw until 2020 was
That's
abysmal.
fair.
Like
Well,
he,
except for 2017 as a freshman, right?
I mean, he had a
He was,
couple nice plays that year,
yeah.
but 2018 and 2019, 18 in particular, some of the worst cornerback play I've ever seen in my life at any level
And
at the
both
university.
start in the NFL now.
Yeah, Parnell Motley doesn't. He did.
No, no, I'm talking Trey Brown and Trey Norwood.
Yeah, no, Trey Brown was good. Like Trey Brown over over an era where it was generally poor play in the defensive backfield. Trey Brown was a stud. He was a stalwart. Trey Norwood and Parnell Motley made me want to commit seppuku.
um, but wow. Um, look, I'm gonna have to ask why because the 2017 version of Parnell, I guess the early season version of Parnell Motley, particularly against Ohio State, was awesome. You remember that? He had 2 picks against Ohio State. We thought he was going to be a world beater at that point.
Parnell Motley had 2 picks against Ohio State.
Yes.
Oh, woof.
In
I've
Columbus.
completely forgotten that.
Yes. He had one in the end zone at the end. And then remember the tip where he like dove and he like caught it on the ground. And that was like kind of turned the tide a little bit. Who was the quarterback at that point? Was it Braxton Miller, or was it no, it was a dude from Wichita Falls, uh for Ohio State. Do you remember?
Was that not? No, that was the year before Dwayne Haskins.
Rest in peace.
Yeah.
Um, I'm trying to pull up the Ohio State box score. Um,
Ohio State's quarterback at the time was JT Barrett. JT Barrett. That's who it
JT
was.
Barrett, that's right, of Wichita Falls. I'm trying to pull it up because oh my gosh. Here we go. Here's the stats. Trying to pull up the
He had one interception. Parnell
is
Motley
one
didn't.
okay. It was one interception. I guess that was a diving one. Oh yeah. But he made it he I think he dropped one. I think that was what it was in the end zone. But point is that he played really well that game. And I thought he was gonna be a world beat at that point. But yeah, overall that 2017 cornerback room was abysmal. 2018 wasn't any better. Who was 2019? Trey Brown and who was it? Was it Motley again in 19? It was
I
Trey
don't.
Brown,
Yeah,
but
well, Trey Brown made all the big plays. Pretty much
he
all the
did.
big plays that were made by members of the Oklahoma secondary from 2018 through 2020 were made by Trey Brown.
So, little backstory for people, I can say it now that he's been gone for a long time. I had to convince Kerry Cooks to offer Trey Brown. No joke. And Kerry's my dog, but like it was the size thing. Remember they were trying to go to the bigger corners at the time, and at the time he was what 15 years old, 16 years old. He was a younger junior, and he grew like 2 inches from the time he was 16 to 17. So he went from like 5'9" to 5'11. So the 5'9" version they were afraid to offer. I bet you they're glad they did. So he turned out to be pretty good. Saved Bedlam. Was that 2018? Did he save Bedlam? Right? On that diving 2-point conversion?
Yes, that would have been 2018.
2018. Yep. So anyways, we digressed there a little bit. That's on me. Um, so you like the cornerback. Remember when the safety room used to be the issue as well? Before the cornerback room was a question, it was safety and corner. And there was no depth. Both rooms are so deep that Amarian Robinson is playing so well this fall camp that they're trying to figure out a way to get him on the field. He's done so well, they're trying to figure out a way to get him on the field while also having to figure out a way to get Reggie Powers and Michael Boganowski on the field as well. First world problems, Parker.
Those are the type of
For
problems you
Oklahoma.
like to have.
Yeah.
And like I remarked on this. Maybe it was on one of our post practice blitz YouTube videos, but just the reality, Brandon, that when you look at this roster, there are no transfers in the cornerback room, and there are no transfers in the safety room. Brandon Hall and Jay Valai
Props.
have nailed their evaluations, and they have developed. More so than any other coach on Oklahoma's roster, those guys have done it the old-fashioned way.
I mean, I think the defensive side as a whole, outside of what three guys on the defensive side of the ball, aren't all of them basically developed by Oklahoma? You got Dominique Williams, Marvin Jones Jr., Kendall Daniels. Everybody else is essentially developed, right? Isn't it crazy? And that's what the offense is trying to get to, but they keep having to supplant with transfers. And I guarantee you, if Muleshoe was still at Oklahoma, it'd be the other way around. Offense would be nothing but developed players, and transfers would be coming galore on the defensive side of the ball. It's wild how that works, right? But I'm trying to think like for Oklahoma, how much of the offensive line is transfers? What is it? Just Derek Simmons and Jake Michaela, right? Do we
No,
count
Luke
Troy
Luke
Everett as a
Luke
transfer anymore?
Baklenko, Fabechi Wiwu's a transfer, Troy Everett's a
I
transfer.
always forget about. I don't. But do we count Troy Everett in his third year as a transfer?
Do we count him? Yes, he is a
He came
transfer.
as a redshirt
Definitionally,
freshman,
he is a transfer.
but he came as a redshirt freshman or after his redshirt freshman year. This will be his third year under Bill Bedenbaugh. I know, I get that he transferred in, but he played. He was developed by Bill Bedenbaugh. I think that's fair to say. But yeah, I always forget Backlinka. Fabici just feels like he's been at Oklahoma forever, even though it's only been 1 year. I don't know why that is. Probably because it was the longest year in Oklahoma history. That's probably why. Does he hold the starting spot the whole year, in your opinion?
Yes. Yes, I would say so.
Okay. Does Eddie Pierre Louis?
That one, you'd like to think so. But man, the guy that's gonna like could throw a wrench into the whole roster calculus as far as just like guys arriving on schedule, if you will. Guys ascending the way they should. Upperclassmen giving way to the younger guys, giving way to the even younger guys. Like the guy that could throw a wrench in all of that right now is Ryan
Fojay?
Foje
Yeah.
because Ryan Foje is coming.
Pause. But oh, Sonny, come
That
on.
dude, he's going to make it tough. He's going to make it really, really tough on the older guys, I think, at a certain point to hang on to those starting jobs. Now, that could be at some point in 2025. I think that's the type of guy that right now, based on the early impressions of Foje, he's got to be in the starting lineup in 26, right? Like there's
Yeah.
not a world in which Ryan Foje isn't starting for Oklahoma in 2026, unless he just falls off a cliff. But I'm not ruling it, and I have long said, Brandon, that I think the guy that has more of an opportunity to make a year one impact would be Foje as opposed to Michael Fasusi.
Well, it's easy. Yeah. He's got an easier route to get on the field for sure.
He does, but there's so much talk about Fasusi, and deservedly so. I'm not trying to say Fasusi is overrated by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't know if Foje got his due. For
Well,
in a lot of people's minds, I don't know if Foje is right there with Fasusi because in many ways he is. Like the talent gap between those two, the chasm in terms of ability is not that wide. That's not in any manner designed to take away from what Fasusi is or what he can be. It's simply a credit to Foje.
and this goes back to high school. We had to pull teeth to get him in the top 250. Remember? Like it took us moving mountains to try to persuade everybody to get him in the top. There were other sites, obviously, that had him ranked very high, Foje, in the top 100 the whole time. But it just, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. But I always look at it like this. If the majority of the analysts or the people that the evaluators that do what we do see him see a player in a certain light, that's probably what they are, right? That's probably what they are. He made it into the top 250, the final rankings with us at Rivals. And I'll give it up to Adam Friedman because he had our back on that, by the way. Respect to him. Um, yeah, he had our back on that. And you know what? I think you guys are right. We're going to put him in there. And he did. And he removed another, I'm not going to say who, moved another player, put him in there, top 250. He didn't get his due then. And it's hard to get his due now just because of who Fasusi is. Fasusi, his upside is substantially higher than almost anybody that Bill Bedenbaugh's ever recruited at Oklahoma. There's probably been a handful that have been up there in Fasusi's level. But the unfortunate part, like you said about Fasusi, is he's got guys that are experienced NFL guys in front of him. That's the problem. And I'm not saying that the guys in front of Foje aren't NFL guys. I just think the ones that are in front of Fasusi are higher level NFL guys. So it's harder to break through that
Mhm.
than where Foje's at. And so you put that and you compound all those, you know, issues. And yeah, it's going to be harder for Fasusi to get on the field. Having said that, if I said Ryan Foje was starting at left guard by South Carolina, would you be shocked?
Yes, I would be shocked.
Okay.
Absent
I want to set
injury, that is.
expectations for OU fans
I
of where
would
we're
be
at here.
shocked because he's got to go through Eddie Pierre-Louis in
Yeah,
order
and
to
I
get that
would.
left guard role. And I'd like that's as good as Foje is,
Pierre
that's
Louis
a
a
tall
dog.
task.
Yes. Yeah.
Eddie Pierre-Louis is also very good.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you imagine next year your right guard is Ryan Foje, your left guard is Eddie Pierre Louis, your center is Jake Michaela, your um, left tackle is Michael Fasusi. Who would be your right tackle? Logan Hallen, probably. Jake Taylor,
Isaiah Autry Dent, perhaps.
Isaiah Autry Dents. So I was going to ask you about him earlier. He's another guy that I think has like an absurd ceiling because he was so raw when he got to Oklahoma.
Hmm.
If he can stay healthy, Parker, they might have one of the most athletic offensive lines in 26 that Bill Beamo's ever had. Like just from a sheer athleticism standpoint,
Yes.
like crazy athleticism. I'm excited for that. But first is 2025. Um, Before we go, quarterbacks. We got to talk quarterbacks.
Yeah.
If we don't talk John Mateer, if we don't talk Michael Hawkins, people are going to say, "What in the world are you guys doing?" Guess what? They're really good. That's about all we have to say. They're really good at what they do. They got pressured quite a bit today, and they made mountains out of molehills a lot of times. Anything else you want to add to that?
Not really. I mean, you know what you're dealing with in John Mateer.
Yeah.
He's a guy that led the FBS in total touchdowns last year. He's ideally suited to operate under less than ideal circumstances. Not to say you can throw five turnstiles out there on the offensive line and expect him to play well, but he's going to be able to cover some of whatever deficiencies may exist for Oklahoma up front when the actual season gets started. And ideally, there are no deficiencies, right? Ideally, you're
Yeah.
100% healthy. You're not having any of the issues right now that you're having going up against this very strong group of Oklahoma defensive ends, led by a guy that's going to be a high round NFL draft pick in our Mason Thomas. But if the tackle play isn't fantastic in 2025, I think at the very least you feel a lot better this time around with a guy like John Mateer being under center and just his ability to navigate those circumstances accordingly
Yeah.
and make the most out of what's there.
Yeah. I mean, this is going to be a fun season, fans. I'm just letting y'all know, like, it's going to be fun. Uh, both quarterbacks are super athletic. Both quarterbacks have really good arms. Both quarterbacks are strong. Obviously, John Mateer is the leader of the team, the leader of the group. He's changed the dynamic of this team as a whole, just personality wise. And the players have talked about it ad nauseum. Just crazy amounts of just Baker Mayfield esque characteristics that he has that has changed the level of play in just about everybody on the team. And that's not hyperbole at all. Parker, you can vouch for that. Like he's done a lot of that with his team. Just by who he is and his competitive nature. Um, but if you want to join us on OU Insider, now would be the time. $1 for the first week. You get complimentary 1 year of The Athletic. If you go, all you got to go is to ouinsider.com, click up there and that join now, and you can sign up, join OU Insider for $1 for the first week. And you get, and then it's $11.99 a month, or you can pay $119.99 and get us for the whole year. It's a great time to sign up. I want to thank the OU fans because you guys have been amazing. How many have signed up this month already has been out of this world awesome. So thank you guys so much for that. Um, Again, go to ouinsider.com, click up there, join now, and click on the Athletic. $1 for the first week. You get the Athletic complimentary on 3 and OU Insider for a whole year. It is a really, really cool deal. If you're a college student, email us from your .edu. If you're active duty, email us from your active duty military account. Must be from your active duty, must be from your .edu to ouinsider@rivals.com. We will send you a promo code to make sure you get OU Insider for $1 a month for 3 months. $1 a month for 3 months. So basically $3 will get you 3 months. Again, email us ouinsider@rivals.com from your .edu. Doesn't matter what college you go to, as long as you have a .edu. Doesn't matter what branch you serve, as long as you've emails from your active duty. We love to give back to our vets, and we want to help out college students, get you guys and allow you guys to come on board with us and enjoy the content that other people get to enjoy. All right. For Parker Thune, my name is Brandon Drum. That's going to do it for this version of the OU Insider Under the Visor Sooners podcast. We will see you later on this week.